Do you ever wonder what items you should be stocking up on for those unexpected moments or emergencies? Well, worry no more, because in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you my top 10 categories of a long-term food pantry. Within these categories, I'm going to give you plenty of examples of the staple foods that make up these categories. And if you stick around to the end, I'm going to also include 3 very simple bonus tips that are going to keep you and your pantry prepared for the long haul. Well, welcome back, friends. If you are new here, my name is Louann, and I'm so glad that you're here today. Okay, so the very first category that I want to cover are your dry goods. This is a very broad category that includes a lot of great staples for your pantry. But basically, this category would include rice, beans, pastas, dried fruits and nuts, and you'll want to be sure to include these items in their whole form where possible, and also in their instant form where possible. So in front of me are just a few examples that I have in my pantry. I do have a keto and gluten-free pantry, so those are the type of items that you will see examples of here today. I have regular white rice, pinto beans, and then I also have some instant jasmine rice and minute rice. As far as rice goes, you could include brown rice or any kind of rice that you prefer. Now for the dried fruits and nuts, some examples that I have in my pantry are dried dates and raisins, but you could also have fruits like dried apricots, dried cranberries, dried blueberries. I mean, the list just goes on and on. For nuts, what I have in my pantry are whole almonds. I also like to keep sliced almonds, walnuts, pecans, and then I have a little jar of peanuts back here. So these are the items that I actually use on a regular basis. I use these nuts and dried fruits in my yogurts, in my oatmeal, in cereal, and sometimes I just like to get a bowl, pile them all in there, put a little whipped cream on top, and that makes a good healthy snack. Okay, our second category is another broad one. It's going to include all of your canned goods. We're going to start out with the examples of some fruits and vegetables. In front, I have 2 different types of mandarin oranges. You can get the canned mandarins, you can get these in the jars, but we are talking about canned things right now. But be on the lookout for all the different varieties of each one of your favorite fruits. Also, I have sliced peaches, pears. I also have fruit cocktail. I like to include it because it has a variety of all the fruits. And then here are 2 different forms of applesauce. The one in the plastic container, and then, of course, your canned. I kind of want to bring home that these are the items that I actually use. That's what makes them a staple in my pantry. Your staples in this broad category of canned foods may look a lot different than mine, and that could also depend on your dietary preferences. But moving on, some vegetable examples are canned spinach, corn, whole beets, sweet potatoes, and corn. Okay, continuing on in our canned food category is canned beans. I have red beans, black beans, chickpeas, pinto beans, and then we have canned soups. Here's just one example of a canned soup. We also have our meats that are in the canned food section. Here is some corned beef hash. I also have the regular plain corned beef in the can. I also have some tuna, chicken, roast beef, and finally, we have pulled pork here on the bottom. A canned ham. And then for seafood, we have some salmon and sardines. And then, of course, what long-term pantry would be complete without Spam or treat. Now these 4 examples, the fruit, the vegetables, the beans, and the meat should cover most of the staples that could fall within this category. Now let's move on to category number 4, the spices, herbs, and seasoning category. In front of me, I have parsley, black pepper, garlic, cumin, and then I have an Italian blend, a pork seasoning, and a steak seasoning. Now, I also, of course, have to include salt. I have started using the Redmond's real salt, but in the salt category, you can have kosher salt, iodized salt, non-iodized salt. There is sea salt, Celtic salt. So there's so many different categories just under this one pantry staple. Again, the ones that you have in your pantry should be based on your dietary needs and your preferences. Okay, we're halfway there with category number 5, and that is your baking essentials. In front of me, I have some gluten-free 1-to-1 flour. I have gluten-free pancake mix. Of course, if you're not gluten-free, you would have regular flours, or like I have my all-purpose flour here, and you would have your regular pancake mix, whether that's homemade or store-bought. I also have here our baking powder, baking soda, psyllium husk. This is used a lot in keto, low-carb baking and cooking. I have my big bag of almond flour. In the front here, I have yeast, buckwheat flour. That's a real good one for anyone that's gluten-free. I have here coconut flour. Again, that's used a lot in gluten-free and low-carb baking. Here is xanthan gum. Same thing. This is used as a thickener. And then we have our sugars. Here is some stevia, granulated sugar, and of course, powdered sugar. Category number 6 is cooking oils and vinegars. Here are your basics in front of me. We have white vinegar. I forgot to grab my apple cider vinegar, but of course, apple cider vinegar. For oils, we have olive oil. There's canola oil, vegetable oil. You have your sprayed nonstick sprays. Ghee is clarified butter. And we have lard. Also, another one that I like to cook with is bacon grease. The next category is going to be breakfast items. In front of me, I have some Chex cereal, Rice Krispies. I have a jar of granola, my oatmeal. This is Bob's Red Mill gluten-free oatmeal, and some grits. Our next category is condiments and jarred items. Some examples in front of me are barbecue sauce. I have soy sauce or liquid aminos. Any salad dressings that you use on a regular basis. Worcestershire sauce. We have jarred peppers and pickles. We also have our standard condiments, ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise. We have salsa, and then I also included jellies and jams, pancake syrup, and honey. I just forgot to grab my honey. So there are just a few examples of what you can stock up on in this category. Now our 8th category is beverages. And of course, the number 1 item that you need to stock under this category is water. In a grid down emergency situation, you should have stocked 1 gallon per person per day. That 1 gallon will have to be stretched to serve all of your drinking, cooking, and cleaning and sanitizing needs. So the bare minimum would be 1 gallon per person per day. So you can never have enough water on hand. Something that you could look into that is really good for emergency situations, and that's the Berkey water purification system and life straws. The life straws and the water purification tablets, those are all good things to have on hand in case of an emergency, because water is number 1. Now, besides the water, I have some examples here of, I have my decaf coffee, regular coffee. Instant coffee is something really good to have. And then your teas, herbal teas, and I have a shelf-stable almond milk here. And now category number 9, we can't forget the snack foods. This category would include staples such as popcorn, snack crackers, also granola bars, puddings, jellos. In front of me, I just have some examples of some crackers, jello, and pudding. Okay, that brings us to our 10th category, and that is just a miscellaneous category. That's going to be anything that has a long-term shelf life that doesn't fit into one of the previous categories that I mentioned. This could be things like sauerkraut, your tomato-based items like whole tomatoes, diced tomatoes, crushed sauces. Here is spaghetti sauce. There's marinara sauces, Alfredo sauce, hot dog chili. Your bone broths would fall into this category. I have a tomato paste here. Your chilies, like I use a lot of green chilies in my enchilada and Mexican recipes. It would include your nut butters like peanut butter, cashew butter, almond butter. I can also think of lemon juice would be something, bouillon cubes. So a lot of things could fall into this category that I felt just didn't fit perfectly as staples within the previous 9 categories. Now, I do have a bonus category, number 11, that's coming up next. Now, the 11th bonus category for a long-term food storage pantry is going to be your emergency food kit. Now, these are great to take along with you on camping trips or hiking. They're great to have in your backpack and to keep in your car. Now, you may be wondering, how do staples fall under these categories? Well, over time, you'll find that you have a preference in which ones you think you could actually live off of and the ones that just don't taste that great. So I'm going to say that the ones that you grow to like, those are going to be your staples in this category. Some examples that I have here are some individual meals, which are a great way to start in this category. Then you can buy them in bulk cases. This one case here includes all of the same meal. This is what they call the 3-day weekender. It's going to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner in here for 3 days. And then, of course, we have our big tub over here. This is going to include 120 servings. These come in a lot of different varieties. Again, as you discover which meals you prefer and which ones you don't like, then you'll know which larger kit to invest in. But really, in a case of a grid down emergency, I don't think you're going to be very picky. And these last over 25 years. All you have to do is add water. These larger kits are also going to contain the breakfast, lunch, and dinner for several people. So it's good to start small if you've never bought these before, play around with them a little bit, and then graduate into the bulk of the ones that you like. Then get into the weekender or the week-long or into the months-long containers. Okay, so there was your bonus category. And before we move on to the 3 simple bonus tips, I would love to hear from you. Let's help each other out by listing some important foods that you believe should be included in these categories or categories all in themselves. I'm always blown away by all of your knowledge and your experiences. I'd also like to take a few seconds to just say how much I appreciate you stopping by today. And if you're enjoying this video and getting some inspiration or motivation out of it, the best way to show your support is to give this video a big thumbs up. And of course, if you're new here, I would love it if you'd subscribe. Okay, as promised, I'm going to share with you 3 very simple bonus tips that are going to keep you and your pantry prepared for the long haul. And the very first simple tip is just make sure that you store all of these food items in a cool, dry, and dark place. This will maximize the shelf life. The second tip is rotation. Rotation is very important. So if you're stocking foods that you eat on a regular basis, rotation should be pretty easy for you. Just always do the first in, first out method. When you buy something new, push your existing items to the front and put the new in the back. This will always ensure that you have fresh foods. And by sticking to this rotation, each time that you put new foods in the back, you're adding even more years to the length of your pantry. And the final bonus tip that I want to share with you is to just remember that building a long-term food storage pantry takes time. Go at it gradually based on your dietary needs and your budget. Whether it's for unexpected emergencies or just wanting peace of mind, stocking up on these essentials listed here today will ensure you're always ready for whatever life throws your way. If you want more information on this topic, be sure to check out these videos next. Thanks for being here today. I hope to hear from you in this video and in the next. Bye!